Hola.
Hello, you two.
Hello.
Hello.
In sync. You're just
We're one. We're one.
well. I want to thank you for being here. As I often say, all I have is my experience, and of course, my experience is not my own because I get experiences from interacting with amazing people like you, and I am truly blessed to um, come across your path and having had the opportunity to experience you both, Tamara, separately and then you two together. It's
Mhm.
just so powerful. And because I feel things in my body very strongly, I do know that it is through movement. It is by letting what my muscles have stored out that then I
Yeah.
can process it and do something. So that's why I have you here. But I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourselves the way you want to be seen and known, professionally, personally, how you want to introduce yourself.
You know, that's a much harder question than you think. Because if you were just to ask me to introduce myself, I would there's nothing to say. It's just kind of like I'm here, you know? I'm here and I am and we are. It's really simple. But clearly this is an interview and people have to know who the heck we are. So I'm gonna not do that. But my name is Tamara. People know me as Cuchira. And basically, I just help people free themselves through movement. That's what I do. It
Mm.
doesn't have a label. Um, I just assist them in doing what they already know and have maybe been conditioned to not do or have forgotten. And so it's a beautiful, very innate, organic art form of, I guess you could say, movement meditation.
Ooh.
And this is the love of my life. I'll pass the ball over.
So what I do is to help people, but in a more physical way, like to get a deeper understanding of our vessel and how we feel and how we move, and just creating a better environment to live in.
Ooh,
And
I
your name?
love that.
Yes, I'm Ruben.
Sometimes.
That is the name that you were given, and I love that because that was exactly my experience of you, which Tamara, I would probably call you a movement magician because that is so.
I'll take that.
She's a shaman.
I've been called many things, even a wild woman, a crazy woman. So I'll take movement magician and a sage and a shaman.
But truly, I mean, it is meditative as well, but it's
Yeah.
so much more.
Yeah.
And the way, Ruben, you described the vessel, that's how I felt you prepared my vessel to whatever work was coming after.
Yeah.
So I love the way you're putting words into my body and how I experienced you. That makes life so much easier. And what started all this thing was this confinement, social distancing, whatever we're going through. And because of what I do, I felt compelled to share what's possible. And there's
Yeah.
so much more than is possible. You're already working online. Way before this, I was working online. I know that working online is a privilege that I need to acknowledge. Not everyone has that privilege. Not everyone can afford to do the work that we do, not
Yeah.
only ourselves, but to the work that we offer. But having said that, there is a lot of people who are at home right now, either working from home or not working, that I think can get in touch with what they already know in their bodies. And for me, movement, which is what you both do in different ways, but so complementary, is a way of getting in touch with our deepest knowledge, our embedded being essence. And I think
Yeah.
that starts with emotions. But because we're not in touch with our emotions, how can we access them? We don't even have vocabulary for most of the things that we feel. And
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I love movement so much because you don't need to have the words, nor do you need to have the understanding. And I love, you're good, Ange, because you use the words emotions and not feelings. Because for me, feelings are very much of the mind, and the feelings go, yeah, exactly. They're very heady, and they never leave you. They just wrap around and around and around. Where emotions move through you. That's why the word emotion has motion in it, the word motion in it, because they're meant to move through you. And so these sensations that you feel through the body, or that you sense, even better said, through the body, are a great way to connect with yourself without having to make sense of anything at all. And everybody has that. That's like, we're born with that ability. We're born with that language of sound and movement. And so it's a funny thing, when people are like, come to me like, oh, I don't move how you move. And I'm like, that's right. You move how you move. And that's exactly how you should be moving. Yeah. And movement is what takes us out of trauma, really, because if you think about it, when we're in a traumatic situation or trauma in the body, you freeze, right? The first thing that they tell you to do is breathe, 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 because breath brings life force energy back into the body. And so moving is so essential in healing, and so essential in constantly knowing where you are, observing yourself, and then being with yourself, and thus then being better with others. Absolutely. That was a long-winded talk about that, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I felt it was funny because the way I talked about you after working with you privately was exactly the way that you mirror. I mean, neuroscience talks about that mirror neuron, right? Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You absolutely mirrored my emotion, and as much as that was scary for me at the moment, you also told me that I was allowed.
That's right.
You gave me permission to go there. And I think as mammals, we need that. We need to see how it feels, so we kind of know, oh, it's natural to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I want to do this, because yes, there's a lot of people going like, everything's going to be okay. And it will be. I also believe it and trust that it will be. We will make through this. But while we're going through it, and the only way out is through, how can we better use what we have?
Exactly.
To get in touch with whatever's coming up that we've probably been pushing it down.
I mean, Ruben is a really good person to talk about this, because I think the word is adaptable, and he's really,
it's just creating a safe environment to the person to start, and because start from where you are, because everyone is in a different level, in different stages. Is seeing where the person is and create a safe environment for them to explore themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that, like, everything we need, we already have. We were born with. The problem comes in with life itself, right? All the conditions, all the happenings, all the doing, all the trying, all the being, all the worrying, all of that stuff, and it just jumbles up. So when you are in a safe environment, to start to begin to kind of just, I always say, like, delete the files. You want to start over. It makes it just a lot easier to just see where you're at. And I think when you are in a safe space to see where you're at, it's a lot easier to then, like, nurture the trauma and nurture the healing, so that you can actually step into the emotion versus like wanting to run around it or cover it up, which eventually doesn't work. We know that, right? It just really gets you nowhere.
Like the opposite, I think.
Totally.
You said it really well. This morning I checked your story, and you were talking about emotions and pushing it down, and you said that I wrote it down, what we hide keeps us hidden.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that. It's like if I'm trying to get through a tunnel, the only way through is through. like that's it. Like, there's no other way, right? Yeah. So it's amazing when people come to me, they say, like, a lot of people say, like, oh my God, this is magic. It's like, no, it's not magic. It's always been in you. I don't know what happened. You just walked away from it.
But it's true, because it's so hard to unlearn. Actually, it's kind of difficult to unlearn.
Totally.
I agree with you, Ruben. I think the only way is to acknowledge what's here, trauma and all, and say, okay, how can I move forward? And for me, that is the tiniest step that I can take right now, as you said. I don't know if you know, but part of my work, I invite people to go to their deathbed.
I love that. We love death, by the way.
But,
Well, because death is life. You can't have one without the other. Yeah.
and it's so interesting because it doesn't matter who the person is. No one talks about whatever it is that we spend our day focusing.
Yep.
And
Yeah, when they're there.
That's why
Yeah.
I invite people to go there, because it's really about life. It's about what's most important for me. It's about who I am, who I want to be here. And we get distracted with exactly what we've learned.
Yep.
But that's like against us.
Totally.
We do need to get in touch with these emotions because they are energy. It's the name of my business. Upanji means energy in Kimbundu, which I'm sure you've heard of, Ruben. So this coming in touch with energy, the energy that is stored, the energy that builds you, it has many ways to go in, but movement is our first way. Is that
Yeah, movement is the mother language, and as sound is. Yeah. I mean, I think now if you're this quarantine thing or the quieting of the world, as I'd rather put it, because that's what it feels like, is like the perfect opportunity to just freaking be with yourself. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. We've been having so much fun.
Today we're even talking like, okay, all we rest of for us to do is just to be, because the circumstances are totally out of our control. So if it's totally out of my control, I'm just gonna do whatever I can do. Just make it simple.
Yeah. And this isn't like in my eyes, this doesn't feel like an extraordinary, like crazy event that's happening. This actually feels like how it really always is. It really always is like this. Like you should always be listening to your body. You should always be in your space. You should always be present. Like really what this has done is just highlighted for everybody what the heck is going on within yourself. That's really all it is.
I have a client that whenever she sees me, even one day she was crossing the street, she looked at me, she said, I know, not this, like this. Working online, you kind of use your hands, but she's like, okay. And I say, just ask the question. What are you facing? If you're facing outside, you're outside of your power.
Yep.
But if you're facing yourself, then that, even if you feel like a mess or overwhelmed or I can't handle this is your moment of power, regardless of what it looks like.
And it's always there. It's always there. I mean, it's like Ruben says, like, just simplify. I think that the mind, the feelings, just it makes you feel like you're freaking running in like some chaotic world, but really it's not. If you just start to delete what's really important, and that's what I think all this quarantine is really doing, like, what's really important? What do I really have, in front of me and available to me? And just work with that. I mean, that's where the beautiful things come from,
I agree.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
The virus is the virus. I mean, the virus couldn't care less about us. The virus is being the virus. I think it is reminding us ultimately that we are nature. Nature has its own way, and we can't control it.
Yeah. And I think also, like, just keeping in mind that the virus is a virus, but you can also be the virus to yourself. There's a lot of viruses going on around here. Just saying.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, really at the core of things, I really believe like nothing has changed. I mean, you are who you are, and this is just kind of like another mirror to kind of make you self-reflect and be like, all right, what is really going on with me, Because think about it, a lot of the people, I've talked to a lot of people, right, that are always practicing awareness and really asking themselves their questions and really looking at themselves. A lot hasn't changed for those people. So why is that, right? Because we're always kind of living in this state of like, okay, what's happening right now? What's happening today? How can I move through this? How can I feel this? And I think like, for me, this isn't a bland space. This is super exciting, because you're alive.
I couldn't agree more. And there's a sense that regardless of what's showing up, that we have been kind of prepared for this.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to notice that the only way through is through,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm here, that I have what I have, that I can adapt and change, and I'm creative, and even that.
Yeah.
But what do you tell people when they are having panic attacks, when they're feeling this overwhelmed, this fear about the future that we never control, regardless of what's happening? What do you
I mean, that's so easy. Is be here.
be here?
Slowing
Yeah.
down things, make the simple things as connecting with the breath. Working with the breath is very important too.
Tell us
Like it's just
more.
a connection. It's just a connection. Breathing is just a connection within, um, and that's a lot. There's a lot of room for exploration there. Um, so that's the thing that I advise. Just working with the breath. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's really just be here, be in your body, pay attention to the sensations, just allow to happen what happens, allow yourself to kind of sweat and get into it and scream and cry and be
truthful.
Just be honest. Just
truthful.
You know what, Ange? It's really a lot even simpler than all that. How about just be human? Humans feel, and we're meant to feel, and we're meant to be present, and we're meant to breathe. So it's so simple. It's so complicated for us to grasp.
Because we've learned that we cannot be this.
Yeah.
We cannot feel all these feelings. And I don't know about you, but I feel like guys have a harder time with that, Ruben. Right? Because it's like you were told not to feel. I mean, you can feel strong and powerful, but that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, but to be in tune in this world, both feminine and masculine energy must be balanced. And that's the path to walk,
Yeah. I mean, I fell in love with him because I think it was like the second day we saw each other, he cried, and I was like, oh, yes. So, yes. No, you're super in tune with both. Yeah, you got that down. Because ultimately, ultimately you just see yourself as a human. You don't, You always say that to me.
Even the way, I mean, you're there with your muscles showing, with your kettlebells weighing a ton. I mean, everything about you is strength. And yet we look at you and we also see that part that is yin, that is receptive, that is calm. Just your presence. There's that. I love it. Thank you.
I know, it's great. I got lucky. No, it's true. It's what really made me fall in love with him really instantly. Our love story was a very intense and very quick one. Very quick. And it was like the moment that I was around him, it was like, okay, you look like that, but what is happening all around you? Like the aura was just so connected and so not labeled. That's the word. Yeah, it just had no labels. It was completely open. It's just amazing.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
The way he looks at you.
We love each other. No, being around us all day is like the most annoying thing in the world. Love is a good thing, isn't it?
Love is a good thing.
Yeah.
Love is the thing. That is the thing.
It's the thing that we're here to connect with and to get reminded of that it's really who we are.
Totally. Yeah. And I think actually the word love has such a bad rap. It's so hard to meet the standard of the definition that our society holds as love. Because again, I think it's just a lot simpler. Love is just being present.
Yeah.
Really. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I always feel a little bit silly with my art and my craft and sharing it because it's so simple, but it's so difficult for us to do, obviously, so we need guidance. But I'm like, damn, it's right there, right in front of you.
But I think that's why I call it magic, because I can say that one of the things that I put highest on my CV is learning to tie my shoelaces. And it's because it was damn hard to learn. I remember it.
Yeah.
Where I was born, no one wore shoelaces. People were either bare feet or were on flip-flops, sandals, tops. I mean, no one had shoelaces, and I had shoelaces. So that I felt not just a curse
Yeah.
that would slow me down, but I had no point of reference. How the heck do you do this? Teachers were not teaching how to do it. I know that every time I felt I got it, all I took was just lift my foot, and it wasn't. I remember that feeling, right? I was
Yeah.
traumatized. And now
Yeah.
I can tie my shoelaces with my eyes closed, with one hand. And so when you say it's easy, I think about shoelaces.
Yeah, that's a great comparison or analogy.
And that's why I insist and invite people to practice.
Yeah, you have to.
Every day.
Consistency.
Day.
If you're not willing to do the practice of awareness consistently, then you might as well actually just not do it at all. You know, because it's like it's not just a one-hit wonder, you know. It's not a bam wham thanks for that was good. It's not a one-night stand. It's not that. No, it's showing up every day and all the time. And the cool thing is, like the shoelace, at first it's exhausting, it's tiring, you don't want to you just want to put the flip-flop on. But eventually with time, like you said, the shoelace ties itself, you know, and then it's not so difficult. But I think it's just people need to get past that first hard part. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Just commit to that
and
first
that
part.
comes with small steps.
Right.
Another problem that we put in ourselves and is to think too much ahead.
Yeah.
Just small steps. What you have now, what you can do with this, and work with that.
Yeah.
That's very important. Just see what's in front of you and take that and into really small steps and awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good suggestion, actually. If you feel totally overwhelmed, just be, again,
on chaos.
Just be where you are. Be where you are. Yeah.
I say whenever I talk to people and ask for a step, they often give me a big step. And
I'm sure, yeah.
And people go like, well, smaller than this, but I can do this. Like, I don't care if you can do it smaller than that. And sometimes people are like, oh, I can put it on my calendar. I said, smaller than that. And people are like, that's doing nothing. I said, that's where I want to.
That's doing everything.
Don't do it. Just see yourself. Just know what doing this is going to give you. That is probably the small
magic.
That's how we rewrite the narrative. It's with these small steps, consistent small steps, and we rewrite our chemistry basically. And yeah.
I mean, it's funny that you said with you that they usually like smaller, because with me it's the opposite, right? Because I'm asking them to move. So with me, it's like, what, you want me to move? You know, there's like this stiffness, and I'm like, no, you need to move, like move, even just with the breath. And you know, it's in the body, it's such a different experience, which is why I love the body so much, because it's so incredibly honest. It cannot lie. You know, like if a singer is nervous, their voice is gonna, crackle. If a dancer is nervous, they're not gonna be able to move. And right, you're gonna sweat, you're gonna breathe too much or too hard or whatever it is. So the body is such a great tool to see exactly where you are. And then you can see, like, the breath for me is the total beginning of the movement, because when you start to breathe, the body naturally moves, and then you start to notice all the little sensations, and just noticing all those little sensations, like that my fingers are doing this. You cannot think thoughts when you do this. If you're really thinking about this, right? If I'm thinking about my fingers. Yeah. So it's such a great way to bring you right into the moment, which is what we are always talking about, always trying to get back to.
And you're brilliant doing that. You're like, how does she know I was thinking? Because she's like, get out of your mind. I'm like,
oh, but the body has, no, it's like the body to me it's a story, and I can read it so well. And the thing is, of course it's a story, because the body holds all this body memory from the past that you haven't cleared. Yeah. And so it's telling me, sometimes it tells me, 30 stories, even stories of your ancestors way before. And so it's amazing, because you're watching the being that's in front of you move, as well as all the beings underneath that being. So you're getting, like, in one shot, you're getting all the layers of this energy before you.
Yeah.
versus just the words that they can speak at the moment. And that's what's incredible about it.
You're describing the book I'm reading. I'm reading a book
Yeah.
about epigenetics and how
Uh-huh.
we store things from our ancestors.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
It's not. It didn't start with you.
It didn't start with you. Oh, that's a good name. There you go.
Didn't start with you. It's
No.
amazing, and it just says what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically.
I think movement is an overlooked healing tool that I think lots of people don't give credit for or even think of. And I also think that there's a preconception that for some reason you have to be this crazy, amazing mover or professional yogi or dancer, but movement is movement, you know? That's why I don't call it dance. And that's why I don't call it dance therapy. It's just movement. It's natural. It's normal.
Tell me the story of the name, Movement, because that when I saw it written, it was like, oh, I love this because
Yeah, it spelled like move, like you're meant to move.
Mhm.
So M-O-V, I skipped the E and M-E-A-N-T. And well, originally, I was always doing this. Since the earliest I can remember was when I was 5. I was always just moving through my emotions because I was like a super passionate and aggressive child, you know? And at that time, I was just moving. I thought everybody moved like that. It wasn't anything weird or different that I was doing. And then I was an athlete and I was a gymnast. I was this, I was that. And then when I started sharing my practice, it was more on the professional dancer or on the yogi kind of tip. And I was trying to take it that way. And then one day I just kind of realized how fearful people were just to move. Like if I didn't give my dancers steps or choreography, if I just asked them to freestyle, imagine professional dancers couldn't even move. They would freeze. So I thought, oh, well, this is fascinating. And it's also really messed up, you know?
Yep.
And so that's when I just started dabbling into this whole movement thing. And then I named it, originally it was called Yogans because in order to get into the movement thing, because people don't, I mean, let's be honest. It's not like people really love conquering their emotions, right? Like, right. I'm sure you see it all the time. So I was like, no, I'm going to win.
Speaking by my own experience.
Exactly. So I was like, no, you're going to feel, God damn it, you know? And so I started kind of like, I said, oh, it's just Yogans, you know, yoga dance. Let's learn a sequence. And then towards the end, I would just kind of like push in the little free movement stuff. And they loved it, right? But they didn't know what they were doing, but they loved it. And eventually would come to me like, oh my God, Tamara, your classes are so healing. It's so much more than yoga or this yoga dance or whatever. And I was like, So then finally I was like, okay, enough. If I know that I can help people like you know, if you know that and like Ruben too, if you know you can help people, like it's almost, you have to help. You have to. So then the Yogians thing was going great, but I just cut it all off. I was like, enough of that. I'm just going to change the name to Movement, like M-O-V-M-E-N-T, like it was. So I was like, all right, movement.com. Of course, it was taken. So then I thought, man, but we're meant to move. And then I was like, Movement. And then that's how the name kind of came. Yeah. Long story, but.
No, I love that.
Kind of know the background.
You, Ruben, what got you into what you do, your magic?
What got me to? So I was playing football for most of my life, and about 5 years, 6 years ago, I decided that that's it. No more football for me, and I really dig into the movement world, like what my body was capable of to do, and mostly how could I eliminate my weaknesses and make them stronger, because my football career had a lot of bad implications in my body. So I had to reverse engineer and really understand what was going on in my body and how could I eliminate that and make it more healthy, make it more just comfortable to live.
Right, like you couldn't even sit with your legs crossed or.
Yeah.
It was like
bad.
simple things, right?
It's very bad. So I started my own journey, learning, studying and applying it. Then I started a group on the beach where I used to give classes every morning. was very cool. I did that for 4 years, and after that, I met her. I stopped the classes on the beach, and I started doing more online stuff and workshops around the world with her, and whenever I could. That's kind of been my story.
Sharing your gifts.
Well, I mean, I had to take him with me because it's such a like perfect complement to what I was doing. You know, it's like, because people would come to me and they would go, I have all these things inside me that I want to release, and I want to have more same thing. I want to have more capacity in my body to be able to express them. And that's what Ruben does. And the cool thing about him is like, they would come to me like, oh, Tamara, but how can I, move easier? And the thing is, you can't ask me because I've been working with I was an Olympian, and I've been working with my body at a very high level for my whole life. So I never lived in a body that couldn't, and I feel like, right, that's where you come. Because in order to be able to share something, not always, but it is helpful to have felt it to some degree in your body, to have to identify with it. And that's what Ruben does so well, is that he's able to teach older women and people with limitations, and men that can't walk, and pregnant people, and also, even athletes, right?
Yeah, like athletes that compete in all levels.
Right. And that to me was a gold mine, because it was like, his practice is so non-intrusive to the body. And I was like, well, that's great, because if he can help them, be more comfortable in the body, then it'll help me, secretly, be able to help them flush out all those emotions that just no longer serves them, and they can just let go of that. So it's the perfect union.
That's why we're married.
That's why we're married.
So can I ask you, Ruben, is there a moment that you realized that respecting your body was the way to do it? Because I think, especially for athletes,
That's a good question.
Yes.
They kind of feel if they respect their bodies, they're going to lose their abilities.
No. Sometimes you take one step back to give 2 steps forward.
Ooh.
And it's simple as that. It's not just, oh, but now I'm doing this. No, but this is important now. This is where you are right now. And once again, being in the present, being what's going on, really, really what's going on. And also working with what you want to work, like about goals and how can you reach that goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to do with people, to help them, guide them towards it.
So now we need dates and offers and times. What are you offering? I know you're offering lots of stuff online, so share with us.
Well, the first one, which I'm really like crossing my fingers that it happens, is that we're doing a retreat together in Portugal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in July. And that's like a week-long, super intensive, wonderful, lovely experience. I mean, that's like July, I think it's 19th through the 25th. There's still spots left. So we're hoping that's going to happen. But because we're all quarantined and, social distancing, we put a lot of it online. Honestly, the best way to get all of it is to go to movement.com, which is spelled Movement. Okay. And it's all there. We have online classes and Patreon challenges and private lessons, and we both do privates online. So there's a lot of offerings. Yeah.
I'll share that.
Thanks.
When I post the video, and then I would like to invite you to come live with me so we can open up for questions.
We would love to. Okay. Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite, Angela.
Obrigada.
So amazing. I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this with me, not being anything and just wanting to share your energy, because it was my experience. And thank you for sharing your tips and your energy and your presence. And thank you for reminding us that it's truly all just here.
Thanks. And you're really good at this, by the way. And I feel like you need a podcast. I'm just saying.
That would be a good idea.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
I just started putting this on YouTube because I was doing it on Instagram, and people are complaining because they only are on Facebook, and then I put stuff on Facebook and people
it's a thing. I know, it's a thing.
And I put things on YouTube. I'm like, what else do you want from me?
No, I mean, but once you find, it could be cool because once you find your one platform, you know, then you can put all your information there. Because you are really good at this, and you have a lot of knowledge, and you share so beautifully, right? It would be, and like you said, people need this. We all need the reminders, all of us. I mean, even when we're talking about it, don't you feel like it's really self reminders? Exactly.
Yeah. Just reinforcing and reinforcing it in ourselves. Yeah.
Totally. It's not like we're any smarter than anyone else could. Trust.
I tell clients I do this because I need to hear myself say it 8 times a day.
Yep. Absolutely. On the same page over here. Totally. But thanks, Ange. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we'll see each other
Live.
Friday.
20,
Is it?
What day is it? 24th?
Yeah, I have it written down. Okay. And that's on Instagram.
Friday live on Instagram.
Okay.
I'll post the date, and I know it's Friday.
It's okay. I have it written down.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Right now, because we need to know. It is Friday 24th at 5:30.
Yeah.
Meet
Okay.
on Friday
5:30.
Portuguese time, 12:30 Eastern time.
Yeah.
Live.
How's it going over there? Where are you in New York?
I am in Connecticut.
How is